I don't know how to begin this video, but I have a heavy burden on my heart to even attempt to bring about a subject, and I just got to try something. And it's about suicide. A very dark subject, a very dark activity amongst our native people, among the Eskimo and among the Khoikhon, among native people. And I'll begin by telling some stories. There was a young boy, not quite 11, coming back toward the camp area, leaving a location where he got a licking from his dad. He was depressed already. He was discouraged. He was without hope. After walking a few miles and near the cabin, he took the .22 rifle and put it to his head. And was about to pull the trigger when the dogs began barking and growling. And at that moment, the boy's attention was refocused on what was that? Why were the dogs barking? What did they see? What did they hear? And he pointed the gun away. After that moment, the boy continued living. The boy turned 15, just 15, and after a demoralizing event, and self-pity, whatever, the muskrat season had opened. Canoeing on the lakes was possible. He decided to end it all and wanted to go out into the wilderness and end it in a location where he could not be found. Hopefully to leave no evidence of his final departure. In the process of him going from portage to portage, lake to lake, and the music of the geese and ducks, the abundance of birds flying and singing about, and in the evening, when the muskrat became available, he was consumed with the wonders of what was available to him. Yet he searched for a location where he could discard the canoe, even burn the canoe, and do his planned deed. That location he found. But just as he sat down and contemplated the act, a muskrat came swimming by. He could not resist. Instead of aiming the point of the gun to himself, he pointed to the muskrat. The 15-year-old continued living. The boy grew to age 19. He had lost his girlfriend, an older young lady. Consumed with some alcohol, encouraged, woke up in the morning and decided to go on the last boat ride in his older brother's boat. His intended location was the hanging cliff, and was his plan at full throttle to go into the cliff, thinking that once under the cliff would cave over and no one would know what happened to him. The cliff was a distance away that he knew, and as he drove toward it, it was a wonderful day. The warm air going through his face, and the river water splashing, and the geese flying off in front of the boat as he headed toward the location. It became an enjoyable ride. It was so enjoyable that he continued on driving past that location to continue what the river provided him, a pleasing moment. The boy continued on living. The young man continued on living. Striving for a new life. The boy was in the area 22 years old. He had a successful day with his partners in a lab as a lab technician in a city in a far distant land. At the close of the day, he wondered, and he was haunted of his past. He was alone in a land, in a city where he knew no one. No one knew him. The young man was haunted of his past, while he searched for a new life, running from his past, searching for that new life. He could not find it. Again he despaired and searched ways to disappear without a trace. But he could not think of anything. So he sat in the tub with a razor in hand, but did not have the courage to do it. The young man continued living. At age 29, a young man in the dark of a cold winter's night, with tears running down his face, he strolled down the middle of an active runway, a military runway, with a revolver in his hand. But he just could not bring it to his head and pull the trigger. All he could think about, the pain that act would bring to his mom and his son. The man continued on living. Some years later, at age 48, the man looked in the mirror and was shocked at what he saw. What a transformation from what he saw days before. Immediately, he thought about his .44 Magnum. And just as quickly, anger took over him that he would even think about suicide, knowing the pain full well, the pain that it would cause his bride, his mom, and other loved ones. The man continued on living. As a man grows old, there are many stories, whether it be amongst the Eskimo or the Indians of the lower 48 or of the Khoisan. Many stories passed on when old men and old women found themselves no longer useful and found themselves only to be a burden to those younger than them. Their desire is to not continue on living. That is not my story, this last part. But it is a common story. They're looking at an older man, almost 80. Who has a long experience on the subject, both personally and also knowing it happened to other people. I remember the first time when a young man, I believe I was about 11 years old, 12 maybe, a young man in the village took a .30-06 to his head and blew his head off, blew his brains out. As youngsters, why did he do that? Why did he kill himself? The elders told us, don't talk about it. It was an accident. We don't like to talk about the subject. There have been many programs, many government institutions designed hopefully to attack suicide. Are there any successful ones? By and large, probably I can say no. As an elder, what is my role? What is our role as elders, especially men? Should we just let it go and not speak against it? Should we tell our stories in hopes to bring encouragement to others not to? I don't know. When an old man or an older woman, older lady is no longer able to physically to supply or to do something for others or even for themselves, but they could speak and they have knowledge that might help. Should we not speak? Should we not have opportunity to be heard? I don't know. All I know is every time, yes, every time when I hear of a veteran killing themselves, I think of my brother. I think of friends who did the same. Every time a young person, young or old, in a village, man or woman, it pains all over again. Should I be quiet? Should I say nothing? And just leave it be? Should older people just go by the wayside and just die? And do nothing? I choose not to. I choose to speak out from my heart and from truth. I believe that we can all say, we in agreement, that suicide is wrong. Suicide is wrong. God created us. Yes, God created us in His likeness that we might glorify Him. In this final words, I don't want to be preaching to you, but as a Christian man, a Christian older man, I believe in my heart that God can help. His word, according to Holy Scriptures, that Jesus Christ can save, is a reality. That Jesus came to die for sinners, to bring peace in two ways. Peace with God and peace with one another. God says His greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, with all your mind and all your strength. That is the greatest commandment. The second greatest commandment is to love one another. I don't know if I'm going to post this, but I pray that you heard my heart. Pray for me that when I speak, I will speak with grace and love, because I do love you. I do love all people. And my heart's desire that each of you grow old like me. And my wife Carol, we have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful life. While I grieve inside in this subject, I have joy in my heart. I have peace in my heart. I have peace with God. I desire full-heartedly peace with all. That is my heart. God bless you. And I love you.